Welcome, beautiful, spicy ladies. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth to others is the moment you realize just how powerful you've been all along. In a world where everyone seems obsessed with broadcasting their accomplishments, curating the perfect image, and chasing approval like it's on sale, there's a rare breed of individuals who simply don't care to play the game. Enter the Sigma female, the self-reliant, enigmatic powerhouse who has zero interest in explaining, justifying, or proving herself to anyone. Here's an intriguing fact. Studies show that people who prioritize internal validation over external approval are not only happier, but also more resilient and successful. So while the masses exhaust themselves running on the hamster wheel of validation, the Sigma female sips her coffee, unbothered, and watches the spectacle with a knowing smirk. Why? Because she knows the secret. Everyone else is too distracted to see it. Her value isn't up for debate. And if that doesn't intrigue you, stick around, because this mindset might just change how you see the world, or at least make you laugh at those still caught in the rat race. Number 1. Their energy is reserved for impact, not perception. Sigma females prioritize where they spend their energy, and proving themselves to others doesn't make the cut. To them, constantly seeking approval is a futile exercise that drains focus and creativity. Their attention is directed toward things that actually matter: personal growth, meaningful achievements, and building a life that feels authentic to them. They've mastered the art of choosing substance over show, and it's not just a preference, it's their default mode of operation. While others pour their energy into crafting carefully curated personas, or chasing the validation of people who likely don't even care, Sigma females quietly work on creating something real. They understand that perception is fleeting, often based on shallow assumptions and trends, while true impact lasts. This is why they focus on leaving a legacy of action rather than a trail of empty attempts to impress. Sigma females also recognize the emotional toll that comes with trying to please everyone. The constant cycle of seeking validation can lead to anxiety and burnout, and they refuse to let that control them. Their ability to channel their energy into purposeful endeavors instead of self-promotion sets them apart. They're not interested in being liked by everyone because they know their value isn't diminished by a lack of applause. Ultimately, they value depth over superficiality. Instead of using their time to convince others of their worth, they invest in things that align with their goals and values. Whether it's building a business, cultivating meaningful relationships, or exploring their passions, their focus is on living authentically, and when the results of their work speak for themselves, they don't have to say a word or prove a thing. Number 2. They see proving themselves as a transactional trap. Sigma females view the constant need to prove oneself as a slippery slope into transactional relationships, where interactions are reduced to a give and take of validation. They understand that this dynamic isn't just exhausting, but inherently hollow. When relationships are built on proving worth, they stop being authentic and start feeling like a business deal. I'll do this so you'll approve of me. To the Sigma female, this approach is not only unsustainable, but also deeply unfulfilling. Instead of participating in these validation economies, where value is earned through external praise or approval, Sigma females opt out entirely. They refuse to let their sense of self be dependent on what they can offer to others in exchange for validation. To them, relationships, whether personal or professional, should be rooted in mutual respect and genuine connection, not a constant performance to stay relevant or liked. This mindset allows Sigma females to identify and avoid people who operate in transactional terms. They're keenly aware of how easy it is to lose yourself when you're always trying to prove your worth to others. The cost of such relationships is often a piece of your own identity, and they refuse to pay that price. By rejecting the need to prove anything, Sigma females keep their interactions authentic and on their terms. They're not interested in people who only see their value when it's showcased or performed. They're drawn to those who appreciate them for who they are, not for what they can prove. For the Sigma female, walking away from this trap isn't just about protecting their energy. It's about preserving their freedom to exist unapologetically. Number 3. They know proving themselves is an insecure person's game. Sigma females recognize that the constant urge to prove oneself is rooted in insecurity. It's a game built on the fear of not being enough, smart enough, successful enough, or likable enough. But this is a game they refuse to play. Why? Because they understand that true confidence isn't loud, performative, or desperate for validation. It's quiet, steady, and grounded in self-acceptance. For someone who's truly comfortable in their skin, there's no need to constantly explain or justify who they are. Sigma females embody this mindset. They know their value doesn't depend on whether someone else sees it or approves of it. They've done the inner work to understand their strengths, their flaws, and their purpose, which means they don't need applause or external affirmation to feel secure. To them, the act of proving yourself feels almost juvenile. It's like trying to win a popularity contest that, in the grand scheme of life, doesn't matter. They know that insecurity drives people to seek validation in the form of compliments, promotions, or social media likes, and they see right through it. For Sigma females, this endless cycle of needing to prove one's worth is nothing but a distraction from the bigger picture, living authentically and on their own terms. This doesn't mean they're arrogant or dismissive. It means they've mastered the art of self-containment. They don't need their value stamped by anyone else because they've already approved of themselves. While others scramble to prove their worth in a world obsessed with competition, Sigma females stand apart, unbothered, confident, and unshakable. They understand that real power comes not from showing off, but from simply being. Number 4, they find liberation in disappointing expectations. Sigma females find an unexpected sense of liberation in disappointing expectations. It's not that they go out of their way to upset people or defy norms for the sake of rebellion. Instead, they simply refuse to bend their lives to fit someone else's narrative. They understand that living up to others' expectations is a trap, a never-ending cycle of performance that leads to frustration, exhaustion, and a loss of identity. So they choose a different path, the one that feels true to who they are, even if it means letting others down. The beauty of this mindset is that it's not rooted in defiance, but in authenticity. Sigma females know that trying to meet everyone's expectations is a losing battle, because no matter what they do, someone will always want more. Instead of chasing the impossible, they prioritize their own values, passions, and goals. This isn't selfish, it's freedom. By saying no to what doesn't align with their inner truth, they create space to say yes to what actually matters. They've also come to see the absurdity in living for the approval of others. Why waste time performing for people who often don't have their best interests at heart? Sigma females are perfectly fine with being misunderstood, underestimated, or even criticized because they know those reactions have nothing to do with them and everything to do with other people's projections. In disappointing expectations, they find a kind of quiet power. They strip away the burden of societal pressure and fully embrace their unique path unapologetically. This doesn't just free them. It sets a powerful example for anyone watching. After all, there's nothing more inspiring than someone who lives boldly and authentically, refusing to play by anyone else's rules but their own. Number 5, they see proving themselves as a form of dependency. Sigma females see the need to prove themselves as a subtle but dangerous form of dependency. Seeking validation from others is essentially handing over control of your self-worth, and that's a price they're unwilling to pay. For them, relying on external approval to feel confident or valuable is like building a house on sand. It's unstable, fleeting, and entirely out of their control. Instead, they choose independence, ensuring their sense of self comes from within. When you constantly try to prove yourself, you become tethered to other people's opinions, moods, and biases. Sigma females recognize this as a trap that slowly erodes individuality. They know that the more you crave validation, the more power you give away, whether it's to a boss, a partner, or society at large. You end up bending yourself to fit someone else's expectations, losing sight of who you are in the process. Sigma females refuse to let anyone have that kind of influence over their lives. Their independence is rooted in a deep understanding of their own worth. They don't need applause, compliments, or external affirmations to feel secure in who they are. This detachment from others' opinions isn't arrogance, it's freedom. By freeing themselves from the need to prove anything, they maintain full control over their identity, decisions, and life path. Sigma females also recognize how exhausting and limiting dependency can be. When your confidence hinges on external validation, you're constantly performing, overthinking, and second-guessing yourself. By rejecting this cycle, they free up their energy to focus on what truly matters: their passions, goals, and personal growth. To them, proving themselves is not just unnecessary, it's a form of self-sabotage. They'd rather walk alone with their independence intact than be chained by the fleeting approval of others. Number 6. They trust that those who matter will see their value. Sigma females operate on a simple yet powerful belief. The people who truly matter will see their value without the need for constant explanations, performances, or reminders. They don't waste time trying to prove their worth to everyone, because they know that not everyone's opinion is worth chasing. For them, the right people, whether friends, partners, or colleagues, will recognize their strengths organically, without needing to be convinced. This confidence isn't born from arrogance, but from a deep understanding of human relationships. Sigma females know that genuine connections are built on authenticity, not on manufactured impressions. They aren't interested in relationships that require endless justification of their choices, talents, or existence. They understand that if someone fails to see their worth, it's not a reflection of their value, but rather the other person's inability to perceive it. By trusting that the right people will naturally gravitate toward them, Sigma females avoid the exhausting need to please everyone. They realize that constantly seeking approval only attracts people who are drawn to superficial qualities rather than true depth. Instead, they focus on living authentically and letting their actions speak for themselves. This filters out those who can't appreciate their value and leaves room for connections that are meaningful and reciprocal. What makes this mindset so liberating is its efficiency. Sigma females don't spend their energy trying to fit into spaces where they don't belong. They simply exist as they are, knowing that the right people will see their light. This approach not only saves them from the constant stress of proving themselves, but also ensures that the people in their lives truly value them for who they are, not for who they pretend to be. Number 7. They're focused on earning respect, not attention. Sigma females understand the critical difference between attention and respect. While attention is easy to gain and often fleeting, respect is something far more enduring and meaningful. Unlike those who chase the spotlight, Sigma females focus on earning respect through their actions, character, and authenticity. They know that superficial attention might get people to notice you, but it doesn't inspire loyalty, admiration, or trust. And that's what truly matters. For Sigma females, respect isn't about being liked or admired in a performative sense. It's about being recognized for who they genuinely are. They prioritize integrity, standing firm in their values and principles, even when it's not the most popular or glamorous path. They refuse to compromise their authenticity for the sake of temporary applause. Understanding that true respect comes from being real, not putting on a show, sets them apart. Sigma females don't feel the need to shout their achievements from the rooftops or clamor for validation. They let their work, actions, and character speak for themselves. This understated approach often catches people off guard in the best way, as their impact is felt rather than loudly advertised. In a world obsessed with likes, followers, and superficial praise, Sigma females take the road less traveled. They're not interested in being the center of attention if it means sacrificing their dignity or authenticity. Instead, they invest their energy in building a reputation that stands the test of time. To them, respect is earned through consistency, honesty, and substance, qualities that don't fade with the next trend. While others chase the fleeting glow of attention, Sigma females quietly command the lasting weight of respect. Number 8. Proving themselves feels like begging for acceptance. To Sigma females, the very act of trying to prove themselves feels uncomfortably close to begging for acceptance, and that's something they'll never do. They view it as a compromise of their self-worth, a transaction that places their value in someone else's hands. For them, seeking validation or approval from others is like holding out a cup, asking, "Do you see me? Am I enough?" This idea directly contradicts their core belief. They are enough simply by being themselves. This mindset stems from their unshakable confidence and independence. Sigma females have done the internal work to know who they are, what they bring to the table, and what they stand for. They don't need outside opinions to confirm what they already know. To them, begging for someone's acceptance, whether through over-explaining, over-performing, or overcompensating, is not just unnecessary, but downright degrading. It's an act that puts others in a position of power over their identity, and Sigma females refuse to relinquish that control. What's striking about their perspective is that it's not rooted in arrogance, but in self-respect. They don't seek to impress, they simply live authentically. If someone doesn't recognize their value, It doesn't shake their sense of self. It just clarifies who isn't worth their time or energy. They believe acceptance that has to be begged for is meaningless because it's conditional, and Sigma females thrive on unconditional self-acceptance. Their refusal to prove themselves isn't about defiance. It's about dignity. They know that proving something to someone is essentially asking for permission to be seen or respected, and they don't need that permission. Instead, they focus on staying true to themselves, knowing that the people who truly matter will naturally align with their energy. No begging required. Number 9. They're too busy creating their own paradigm. Sigma females are too focused on creating their own unique path to waste time adhering to the conventional frameworks that society tries to impose on them. They don't just follow the well-worn routes to success or validation. They build their own. Instead of trying to prove their worth by fitting into someone else's idea of success, they completely rewrite the rules to align with their own vision of what matters. For them, success isn't a one-size-fits-all mold. It's something they define on their own terms, shaped by their passions, goals, and values. This drive to create their own paradigm comes from an innate understanding that following the crowd is limiting. Why chase after a standard of success that doesn't resonate with who they are or what they want? Sigma females know that the traditional markers of achievement, money, titles, or approval from others, often come at the cost of individuality and freedom. Instead, they craft lives where personal fulfillment and integrity take center stage. By doing this, Sigma females free themselves from the exhausting need to prove anything to anyone. They don't participate in the rat race of comparison or competition because they're not playing the same game. They've carved out a space where they define their value, and the outside world's opinions are secondary to the standards they've set for themselves. Their focus is on creating something that speaks to their soul, not adhering to the prescribed path of what others believe constitutes success. This refusal to conform allows them to remain independent, self-sufficient, and most importantly, authentic. They know that true fulfillment doesn't come from playing by the rules. It comes from writing your own. And in doing so, they not only create their own success, but also set a powerful example for anyone brave enough to do the same. Number 10. They don't see themselves as competing with others. Sigma females don't view the world through the lens of competition with others. Instead, they see it as a personal journey of self-improvement. While many people are caught up in trying to outdo one another, comparing accomplishments, or vying for a top spot in someone else's game, Sigma females focus solely on surpassing their own limitations. They don't measure success by how they rank against others. They measure it by how far they've come since yesterday. This mindset eliminates the need for external validation entirely. They know that competing with others is a futile exercise rooted in a desire to prove something that doesn't need proving. External competition often leads to a cycle of comparison where one person's victory feels like someone else's loss. Sigma females refuse to fall into that trap. Instead of seeking validation through external markers, whether it's praise, recognition, or admiration, they focus on becoming the best version of themselves. Their competition is internal, not external. They push themselves to grow, learn, and evolve, measuring progress by their own standards, not by how they stack up against someone else. This takes the pressure off living up to anyone else's expectations and frees them from the need to constantly perform. They know that their journey is uniquely their own, and comparing it to anyone else's would be pointless. By choosing to compete with their past selves, Sigma females create a sense of fulfillment that doesn't rely on others' approval. It's an internal measure of growth and accomplishment that's both empowering and sustainable. There's no need to prove themselves to anyone else because their progress is the only recognition they need. In a world where everyone seems to be scrambling for attention, validation, and approval, Sigma females stand apart with quiet confidence and unapologetic authenticity. They don't need to prove themselves to anyone because they've already done the hard work of proving their worth to themselves. They understand that true power doesn't come from external recognition or the validation of others. It comes from the inner strength of knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you're capable of achieving. Sigma females don't play the game of comparison, nor do they follow conventional paths to success. They create their own rules and live by their own standards, focusing solely on competing with their past selves. They've mastered the art of self-sufficiency, understanding that seeking validation only leads to dependency, while embracing their own values creates the freedom to live authentically. By choosing to live outside the pressures of social expectations and rejecting the need to constantly prove their worth, Sigma females pave their own way, building a life that resonates with their true desires, not someone else's agenda. They understand that the people who truly matter will recognize their worth without needing to be reminded. And in doing so, they offer a powerful example. The most valuable thing you can do is trust yourself, embrace your uniqueness, and stop seeking approval from anyone who isn't on your level. If you've made it this far, you're clearly vibing with the Sigma mindset, and trust me, that's something worth sharing. So why not hit that subscribe button, join the tribe, and stay in the loop for more epic insights into the world of unapologetic authenticity? Don't forget to like this video if you're ready to stop proving yourself to anyone, and comment below with your thoughts. We love hearing from fellow independent souls. And hey, if you know someone who needs a little Sigma psychology in their life, share this with them. Let's spread the power of self-assurance and freedom, one share at a time. Thanks, Spicy Ladies, for tuning in. See you in the next video. Bye and stay blessed.